Oh yeah, music.
Yeah. Cue music.
Don't be a hoe.
I'm like fucking dripping sweat.
Woo.
Good thing they can't smell my ass.
Warning, if you're faint of heart or easily offended, this show is not for you.
I don't give a damn about what you saying, bitch, you in the way. Closed case, my nigga beat the charge just like yesterday. In your face, I'ma go hard and make sure you see the cake. Keep the pace, ain't no one fucking with me, this not a race. Doing the shit that I want, I'm never gonna stop, I'm never gonna give in. Making my way to the top, I told you to ride, I told you to get in. Now you can't eat out my pot, it's filled to the top, and I'm about to dig in. You say I was doing you wrong.
Welcome to the Go Rogue podcast. This evening, joining us is Eric Soto. Was it Soto Bully Camp, right?
Yep, Soto Bully Camp.
That's right. And you're in North Carolina.
Yeah, random in North Carolina.
So you're an East Coast breeder.
Easy
I'm like,
breeder. What's the temp right now?
So what?
How hot is it in North Carolina?
I think it was 80s today, mid 80s. Just humid as hell. It was just so humid, and it's raining right now, so the humidity is going crazy.
Yeah.
One of the problems we have here too is in the early spring the humidity's crazy, and you're just constantly like running dehumidifiers trying to keep it dry. It's high humidity heat, tough on the dogs for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I think that's one of the most dangerous things for these dogs.
For sure. We get the comments here. We got some rolling. All right. So, Eric, tell me what got you started in the American Bully? What kicked it off for you?
Well, I don't even know what year it was. I just wanted a dog. Like I really wanted a pit bull. And my buddy, he was breeding bullies, and they were pockets. And honestly, I wasn't really crazy about them. They were too short for what I wanted. And he had a real classic looking bitch that she looked like a pit bull. And he had puppies that were $500. I mean, it's your typical backyard breeding. I mean, he had a female, he had a male, they bred. She had puppies natural, and I mean, it was as backyard as it gets. And I bought me a boy, and he's super old school, super classic, old school edge blood. And I went to a show. I went to one of I guess it was James Cooper shows, one of the North Carolina shows in Winston, and I saw real bullies, because up until that time I hadn't seen any real bullies. I just kind of saw lower line stuff, and I was just kind of hooked. I was like, man, I want one of those. Like I want to get in the show ring.
Yeah.
And so then later on, I got connected with a guy, and he had a really nice pocket breeding going down. It was he had a Dax son, and this was when Dax was really hot, and he bred it to a what was it? Is that Mac dog? I can't think of what it was. It was a Dax line breeding, and I was supposed to get a puppy, and he ended up loving the puppy, so he wouldn't give it to me. So he had another female, a heavy cash pot female. She was 6 months old, kind of terrier, and he's like, you can take this one. And so I just was like, oh, whatever, I'll take her. And she ended up being a freaking bull. She had a late pop, and so I started showing her, and I champed her out like quick.
Yeah.
And then I ended up beating the female that I was supposed to buy.
Oh, geez.
So I got. Oh, and he was pissed. So, yeah, I ended up going against him in the ring, and my female beat his female 3 times that day. And then I think he left for the 4th show. He's just not having
Had
it.
enough. Tapped out.
Yeah. And then I got my boy Flex, and he's kind of the one that put me on the map. A lot of people that's been following me, they know Champion Flex. And he was just kind of one of them dogs at the time. Like to today's standards, he wouldn't be impressive. But at the time, he was really, short, muscled up, freaky. Just like something special to look at. Like you didn't see dogs that short and ripped up at the time. They were either, more terrier and stuff. He is he like had the bulldoggy look, but he had the pit bull muscles, and so he just kind of popped off, and kind of put me on the map, and I just kind of took off from there.
Yeah.
And how long ago was this? Like first bully to?
I want to say. I think I started actually breeding in like 2016.
Okay.
And before that, I had dogs, but just wasn't breeding.
Seems like you got the show bug pretty quickly.
Yeah, real quick. I'm competitive, and so at the time, that's all I wanted to do. Me and my daughters were hitting shows every weekend, and then I went the exact opposite for years. I didn't go to shows at all. I guess I burnt myself out too quick, and I just feel
that
like
can happen.
Oh, I feel like it got to the point where it was just so easy to champ a dog. Like it got to that game where like if you show up enough, your dog's gonna champ. And I was seeing all these subpar dogs with these titles, and I was just like, man, like at the time I was just like, well, I guess the title doesn't mean anything anymore. Just because it was so easy to champ out, and everybody and their brother had a freaking champion on their yard, and so I just kind of I wasn't really worried about it as much. So I kind of stepped away, and now I'm kind of getting back into it again, kind of getting the drive to show back up to shows again.
For sure.
Yeah.
So for a while, you just concentrated on breeding.
Because what was happening is, at a point, this was probably around 2020-ish. I had several, really clean, well-structured champions on the yard. And then I would just have some dogs that were just like, wow factor, but nothing I would ever take in the ring. And people would come to my house and, to breed, and they didn't want to breed to any of the champions. They wanted to breed to, the dogs are like, damn, like, what's that? Like, who's that? They wanted to breed to that dog. So I'm like, man, I'm blowing all this money on the show ring, and the dogs I would never even take to the show are the ones getting all the action.
Yeah.
But, now, I think any good breeder right now is going for both. You want that dog you want that stacked dog that can show, and I think that should be the goal. I feel like that's the way the ABKC is going, where you got a dog where he's going to go champ out, but then again, he can go hold his own on the stack stage.
Yeah. I think when I started, it was still kind of the show dog and the dog that was popular outside the ring weren't necessarily the same dog.
Right.
It was like show dog. The show was looking for one thing, and you learned real quick is that if you got a show quality dog and you want to sell stud credits, that those don't go together. The dog that sells the most stud credits is the crazy dog. The one day, the most extreme one, or the most compact one, that's the one
Right.
that's stud credits for you. So you kind of learn, you're like, okay, to fund my program, I'm going to breed this style dog. And then I want to pursue shows, but in order to do that, I need to fund my program. So you end up breeding two different style dogs. Now I feel like that line's starting to blur a little bit, and the dog that can do well in the show ring can also be the dog that does well at the show. I think we're still in that process, but
and I feel like the breed's evolved, a lot to where it's caused the judging to evolve. Everybody says like it's changing, the standards changing, but really it's evolving. It's not changing. It's just we're a baby breed. We're so young that it's not going to stop changing because it's constantly evolving. So it's crazy. You hear all these people talking about they just keep changing the standard. They keep changing this. I was like, well, it's not really changing. It's just evolving. Like the goal has always been to make a dog that just turns your head. Where you walk up on them, you're like, holy shit, the dog's got a big ass head and crazy shoulders and muscles and a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
So I feel like now we're actually getting to the point where we're getting close. Getting some them show rings dogs where you look at them and you're like, damn, because it used to not be like that. You saw a dog in the show ring and you appreciated what it was. Like, that's a nice dog, but it wasn't like the stack dog over there.
Right.
So now it's getting there where you're like, you see the dog in the show ring and you're like, damn, like that's a monster. And that's what I like.
Yeah, it's definitely transitioning to that point. I would say it's still not 100% there, but there are some, there's some dogs that are popular outside the ring that I don't think it's possible to create a version of it that could be clean and in the ring. You know what I mean?
Right.
There are some dogs you certainly can. You see some dogs that are crazy overdone, and you say, okay, I could clean that up.
Yeah,
they're just so crazy you're never cleaning it up.
Yeah, I got a breeding like that coming up in a few months where I'm like, it's a complete outcross is why I'm doing it. But I got a breeding come up with Oscar. Oscar's not a dog you're gonna take in the show ring, but he's a dog you're gonna look at and be like, holy shit.
I could use some of that.
Look at that. Look at those attributes. Look at the shoulders, look at the head, look at the wow of the dog, but I'm going into the breeding knowing that I might not get a single show dog, but it's also a complete outcross. Like I'm not doubling up on anything, within 4 to 5 generations.
Right.
So, which is what this bitch I'm breeding. She's a nice bitch, and she needs an out because she's very tightly bred Graham blood. And I can't take her any more Graham, or I don't want to take her any more Graham just because how it goes when you do too much. But yeah, she's 3 back-to-back generations of Graham. So I got to find a complete out, and I wanted something that didn't have anything in common with her, other than like that wow. So I know I'm gonna get some. So I know I'm gonna get some wow dogs, but I might not get a dog that can touch the ring, which is okay. I'm more or less breeding, I guess, a stack dog.
Yeah.
So would you say it's easier to dial it back or to turn it up?
As far as mass, or
as far as like your overall goal, like you're breeding to an Oscar style dog, right? You have an idea of what you want to produce, right? And you said they may not be show dogs, so at that point, do you dial it back?
So for me, at that point, after that, I'm trying to lock in traits. So I'm doing the breeding to lock in certain traits. I want to lock in the overdone shoulders. I want to lock in the muscle genetics. Both of them have that. Genotype, they don't have anything in common. But after that, I'm breeding a complement. I'm breeding to complement what one lacks. So really what I would want is, obviously I want a stud that just blows people's mind, but I want a big bitch with mass because I feel like that's where you make your crazy dogs. I feel like it's easier to clean up a dog than it is to make a mass monster. You can breed two thick ass dogs and get a classic because the terrier is back there, and the terrier it's always gonna beat bulldog. Terrier is always gonna beat bulldog. They all come from terriers. So when you start breeding dogs and you start tightening up on everything, and those terrier bloodlines start linking up together, the clean terrier dogs come out. I feel like that's why you see so many dogs that are I guess what you could say is lacking type, because that you start doubling up on all this stuff. Terrier blood links up, and those clean dogs come out. And I just feel like a clean dog, they're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. Clean dogs are everywhere. They're so easy to make, but monsters are hard to make.
Yeah.
So I want to dial in on making that monster, and then I just feel like it's so much easier to clean it up than it is to add the mass. The mass
because it naturally wants to go clean.
Yeah. It's like I said, the terrier traits always win. They always win. So it's easy to breed to a dog to bring in terrier traits. So if I got an overdone bitch, I can breed her to a thick stud with some terrier traits that has something in common with her in the back and clean it up quick.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, if I'm breeding to two kind of overdone dogs, I'm trying to lock in overdone traits that I can later clean up. I want to make a bitch that can produce big dogs.
Yeah.
Now, what's your ideal big dog? Like as far as just the description, measurements, height, weight.
So I like a borderline pocket standard. I like short pockets. I think they look really cool. I have one. I have an R2G2 son. He's just he's a freak. And, when you see him, you're like, holy shit, like that's a cool ass little dog. But I like, it keeps popping out. But if I could get 16 to 17 inches, let's say a male, we're talking about a male, in the 90-pound range, 25 plus head, good rear, can go play, chase the ball. I think what my boy Chaco was getting to, he still had some maturing. He was as ideal as I could get at the time. Obviously he had some weak points. Every dog got their weak points. He wasn't the perfect dog, but he was as far as he was a high functioning dog. He ran around and played, and he had a good size head. He had a good spread. And so when you talk about weight, sometimes that's not so much what the scale says, but how they carry it.
Right.
A 90-pound dog don't mean shit if he carries it in back length. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather, you can have an 80-pound dog be bigger than that 90-pound dog if he's carrying it in his chest and the spread.
Right.
If a dog's got, super tight elbows and a long back, 90 pounds doesn't look impressive.
Right.
On 17 inches.
Right.
But 80 pounds can look like a freak if the chest spread is out, he's got a short back, and his elbows aren't tight. So really, when you talk about weight and height, I guess it depends on
how the dog's structured.
The front assembly has a lot to do with how the dog is going to carry his weight. Because if a dog's got super tight elbows, it's not going to let the chest come out like it's supposed to, and it's probably gonna limo out. You know what I mean? Be like a little limo dog. And I've seen 90-pound dogs that they just look 70 from the front. And I've seen 75-pound dogs that look 90 from the front.
Right. Well, we see a lot of XL breeders. That's they talk about weight. Like that's their. You can tell when you're talking to an XL breeder because they're like, yeah, he's 100 and some pound dog, and I'm like, that's kind of the last thing we talk about.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean that's why when you see like bodybuilding, they're not when you step on that stage. I mean there are weight limits in certain classes and height and weight limits depending on where you go, but what they're looking at is how symmetrical you are. You know, they're looking at symmetry, and they're looking at
balance,
how you carry your chest to your weight size. You know, your shoulder spread, the V taper. You know, the leg size. Like, you know, they're not just like, okay, well, you're 220 and he's 250, so the 250 guy's gonna win.
Right.
Well, if the 250 guy's got a huge waist and a freaking bubble gut, like, nah, he ain't got it.
Right. Just because he weighs more don't mean.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm you know, height and weight, you know, it's really important, but how they carry it, to me, you know, that's what matters. Like, how are they going to carry that height and weight, and where are they going to carry it at?
I was talking to someone the other night and said, you know, a good way to look at a dog, because your height, the height you're shooting for is kind of the same height I think, you know, me and Sam and Han and a lot of people are shooting for, is like that tall pocket, short standard kind of dog. But if the dog with no perspective, you took a picture of it and it was by itself in the field, you could post a photo and people would assume it was a pocket. Right?
Oh yeah,
because it has the chest, the dimensions. There's no cathedral to that dog. It's a taller dog, but dimensionally it looks like a pocket. That's kind of like what we're looking for. And, you know, so people will send you a message and you're like, hey, how to, you know, when you tell them the dog's 16 and a half or 17 inches tall, they're going to be shocked. They're going to think that dog was a pocket. And that's kind of, you know, that's kind of the goal for me, at least, for sure, is to build that kind of dog.
Yeah, and you know, shorter dogs are always going to appear much larger in photos. You know, you take a big ass 16.5-inch dog, and then you take a nice thick 14-inch dog. That 14-inch dog is going to look way thicker in pictures.
Way bigger,
way bigger. It's just, you know, it's a camera trick. It's an illusion, and you really can't do nothing to take away that illusion. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I mean,
it goes a long way.
You can combat it by taking your dog outside, you know, being outside. I don't know how many times people are like, Cowboy is a fucking monster compared to his pictures.
Yeah,
you know,
he is.
It's just, you know, so that's why I take him out all the time, like as much as I can, so that people can see him in real life, you know. Choco Kong, that boy was a fucking way bigger than any of his pictures. Like, he was a big ass boy, you know. Sure. You can't capture some of these dogs truly, you know.
Yeah, and that's like so the other week at the Carolina show, you know, a dog that I really liked, who I didn't like before, Skywalker. Yeah, I didn't like him in pictures. He just didn't impress me. It didn't look that big. I was just like, yeah, I bet he's nice. You know, and I saw him in person. I'm like, damn, like that's a big dog. And he carries his weight well. He moves well. You know, his head needs to pop a little bit more, but I mean, that dog was nice. You know, I think that dog's gonna. He champed out in one show, and I can see him getting his grand champion in, you know, less than 10 showings. You know what I mean? And that's like, it's like pictures. You know, I saw him in pictures, wasn't impressed. Saw him in person, like, holy shit, that's a bull.
That's Nico's boy, right?
Yeah, he's a freaking he's a bull. I like him.
Now, would you say you're a female breeder, like primarily, like that's what you like to keep and breed for as females?
Well, I focus on the female over the male when I'm doing breedings. I bank on the female to bring most of the characteristics, and sometimes, you know, the male overpowers it, you know, and that's awesome. Like I got a Chaco daughter here that looks like Chaco just shit her out by himself with no help. She looks exactly like him. And but you know, my buddy kept the sister, and the sister looks exactly like the mom. But you know, I've done a ton of breedings over the years, and you know, you take a skinny bitch to a really nice stud, a lot of times all the puppies are just going to come out to be, you know, skinny little dogs like the mom.
Yeah.
But you breed a monster bitch, I mean, a lot of times you get monster offsprings.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my recipe is, I mean, I focus on big bitches that carry the characteristics that I want, you know, or have the genotype that can throw it, you know, matched up correctly. But you know, for me, like a female, if a female doesn't turn out or doesn't have a pedigree that I can compliment, I'll just pet Homer. Like I'll give her to somebody just to love her. I'm not gonna breed her. You know, I don't care if I've invested 2 years. If I don't think she's gonna give me what I want, I'll just give her to a good pet home.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna breed her just because I'm like, man, I've kept her this long. I need a breeder. Like, nah.
Yeah.
Because then I'm gonna waste even more time and money. You know, in a stud credit, C-section, whelping. You know, I'll wait and I'll get something that, you know, that I think is gonna bring what I want.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are doing the kind of praying for the miracle. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna breed that female that's lacking, and sure, it does happen. We see it happen all the time, but it doesn't. You're not going to get a consistent litter that bangs out. You know, that breed type that we need. You may get one. You may get none.
Mm-hmm. Well, people are so afraid to cut their losses, man. You know, people purchase a dog and they invest a year or two in the dog, and the fact is, probably more times than none, the dog doesn't turn out and probably should just be a companion. But people are like, I paid $5,000 for this dog.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting something out of it. Like, well, you're just putting yourself behind. You know, if the dog didn't turn out,
you're
going back.
You're stalling your progression.
Yeah.
Right. Because how many generations take that female to the point where you want it, right? Yeah. Because with every breeding, you're only slightly improving the female.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean,
how much longer? How many generations is it going to take to get a bull out of that female?
Yeah, and people will, you know, they'll harp on the pedigree, you know, on the pedigree, and like, well, she's a so and so daughter, you know. It's like, okay, well, she didn't get so and so genes; she got her mama's genes. And that's the way it happens, you know. Some kids look like their mom, and some kids look like their dad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll see, and I've bred dogs, and I'm just like, man, I really don't like this particular thing about that dog. And some of them, it'll go away, you know, and you're just like, that's exactly what I need to do. I need to filter that thing out, you know. And so that's kind of the goal. But I see too many people where I feel like they're breeding backward. You know, they're not breeding forward. They're breeding backward too often, and they're praying for a miracle. And then at the end of the day, even if you get that miracle stud, let's say you bred some popular stud to your female that was lacking, and somehow a miracle happens, and boom, you know, you get a carbon copy of the stud. He himself will not be a producer because he's still 50% his mom. He's still going to throw 50% of his mom's traits. So at the end of the day, you're not winning. It goes generationally. You're losing if you start at that position.
Yep. Yeah, and that's, you know, that's where I see people, you know, they'll line breed a dog. You know, you want to line breed to lock in traits. So it's like you'll get a hot stud, and he's just one of those studs that took after the dad hard. You know, maybe the mom wasn't shit, but they'll lock in on that. They'll double up on that stud, you know, and not realizing, like, every time you double up on him, you're doubling up on that mom.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to get shitty dogs, and they're wondering why, like, oh, man, my dog's 4 times this, and, you know, it doesn't have any mass. It's like, yeah, because it's 4 times the mom also.
Right.
You know,
right.
And the mom looks like a pit bull. You know, the dog was just an anomaly and turned out to be a freak. And, I mean, I've had a stud like that. The mom was not nice. The dad was a freak. The male came out. He was a freak. And he threw his mom over and over and over. And I retired the dog, and, you know, I told people not to double up on him just because of the mom. You know, the mom threw hard. People don't realize how hard moms throw, and that's why I'm so big on the bitch. I'm so big on the bitch because that's where the money comes from, in my opinion. You know, I want to breed a dog where I want to line breed off the mom. You know what I mean? Like, I want to, and I'm breaking down bitches' pedigrees all the time. I'm looking at all the moms. I'm looking at the studs' mom. You know, a lot of times you see some of these freak studs, you notice like they come off a monster bitch. Yeah, not always, but a lot.
Yeah, frequently. For
it's funny, like, you know, you talk to breeders that consistently create monsters, and you show them a pedigree, and the first thing they do is run on the mom side, top and bottom. They don't care about the studs. They're looking at every female in that pedigree.
Yep.
You know, so that if they see that monster bitch, she's going to consistently throw monster pups.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10. Yeah, I mean, you look at Cowboy, Oscar, and what's the other brother's name? Johnny Bananas.
Yeah.
And you got there's three monsters right there. You know, 3 monster males, I should say. You normally don't get, 3 males that big off a litter. You know, and the sire was nice, but obviously the mom's bringing something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just using him as an example because you have him.
Yeah, one we frequently look at as Coco. Coco. Yeah, she's a great example of a producing female. Like, it didn't matter what stud you took her. She was going to throw bulls from it.
The Ruby Rockstar.
Yeah.
Ruby was a fucking producer. Coco's a producer. Like, I've always said I'm trying to make me a Ruby. Like, I want a Ruby. Like, I love.
You go one up on that, and Callie, Miss Callie, Ruby's mom.
That's true.
She's what? I think she's like 9 years old, and she can compete with females today.
Yeah, she's bad.
Yeah, I've never seen her. But...
Ruby's got a special amount of energy. I'm like, I love her to death, but my God, she's trying to knock me over every time she sees me. She got a crazy amount of energy.
But she's bigger than most males I've seen.
Yeah.
Ruby's a hog.
She's a monster.
And that's what you want, she's like a breeder's dream. That's the female you want to build.
And that's the thing about, I don't even care how pretty the dog is, the female is. Like, I want a pretty stud because I want people to breed to it. I don't care how pretty the bitch is. I just want a monster bitch. Like, I just want a fucking a monster that came from producing dogs.
So what are your favorite like bloodlines to use? I know you had mentioned some Grim stuff, but what else are you using other than Grim?
I use a lot of Rocco and Muscle Tone. I combined it a lot. Certain traits. I like I'll say, like, Grim blood is probably my favorite blood. I like to add in I like Muscle Tone's muscles, the shoulders, and a lot of the muscular rears that come in with it. But I prefer the Grim or Rocco style head over the Muscle Tone heads because, I use a lot of Muscle Tone blood, but I prefer a Rocco style head or a Grim style head. But those are 2 bloods, I really like. And then I like some of the old stuff out of the Midwest, some of the like the old Midwest monster stuff like that. I got some of that and some of the back of my pedigrees, like the stuff Big Kev was doing. And I know he's not doing a lot. Don't put some of his stuff out, but I got some of that old blood in my yard, and I'll bring that back up sometimes because that was a blood that was kind of ahead of its time. But right now, it's mostly Grim Rocco type stuff. I just like the look. That's the look I'm drawn to. I think I like a pretty dog, and the Rocco and Grim dogs. And I use them like they're different, even though one's a son. I think Grim dogs are a little different than Rocco Dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
You know, you use Colossal as an example. You know, but you know, I like they're the prettiest, and that's what I use. And then I usually outcross it with some muscle tone to break them up, and which is all coming from Dax line stuff. So,
right.
I guess you could say all my stuff kind of derives from Dax line dogs, with various outcrosses.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm kind of not to be like a color, because you know, for me, a bull's a bull. You know, the stuff that put me on the map was, you know, Pawball, black and white. You know, but I like lilac and I like chocolate, man. I think it's pretty to look at. You know what I mean? I think if you're gonna have, you know, a yard full of dogs, you know, you want what you want. You want those pretty colors. You know, if you can go buy you a new car, you want it the color that you want it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, I won't let it be the last determining factor, but I'll look for it. You know, certain colors, which, you know, a lot of the Rocco dogs are carrying those colors that I like. But you know, if I get a badass black dog, I'm keeping it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I had Big Black, had a Rocco son, Big Black, who, you know, he hit really hard for me. So I'm not opposed to keeping that. But you know, I like the colors that's coming from the Rocco dogs.
Lots of times you'll hear sons off of big name studs tend to always be the son of that stud. You know what I mean? Very rare they get to separate. I think Grimm was a good example of when they separate.
Right.
Because you can distinctly say this is Grimm blood, this is Rocco blood. Like, they're distinctly different as far
as what they produce is, I mean, they carry the same attributes, but it to me they're different styles of dog, you know.
What's produced off of them is different, and so I think that's worth the differentiating those two. But yeah, for sure, Grimm blood, especially that head, kind of the head shape, the top of the head shape, and the muzzle width, and like how square it is in the front, like that is, I think, in my opinion, ideal. Absolutely ideal.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at Graham and his mom. He looks like a monstrous version of his mom.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he throws his look. You know, you look at there's that Grimm son right now from Canada that Paulina handles. His name starts with an S.
Yeah,
he looks just like Grimm.
Shiro.
Yeah, the dog looks just like Grimm. I saw him last week. Dude's a monster. And, you know, he's just got, you know, he's off of Grimm before even asking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like, I knew it was a Grimm son before I ever asked. That's just, you know, and that's one of those males. Like I said, I bank on the females, but Grimm is one of those males that, you know, he could possibly overpower the female.
Right.
And I actually bred the Grimm for that reason, you know, a couple years ago. You know, I know, which I love the female that I bred to him too, but you know, I got two Grimm sons off that, and you know, my keeper, I mean, he just looks like a Grimm dog, you know, 100%.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That's the whole reason you breed stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
Dina cut the Frenchies out. One ran under my chair and hit his head.
Yeah.
You forgot one.
Yeah.
The Frenchies making all.
You have any plans on hitting more shows?
Yeah. Man, I think I might drive up to the Allentown show. I got a female I want to finish. I want to finish her out. I think she's nice enough to grand champ before I breed her. I took her out she went to 2 weeks ago. She went to the Carolina show. She got all of her majors and 110 points, so 40 points shy of champing out. And that was her first time in a show ring. She did well. And then the next day I took her to that Sunday there was a GRC show which is local here, and she took 2 best in shows there.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Congrats.
I appreciate it. So she's just, you know, I'll say she's an exceptional bitch. And she's one I can, you know, confidently take in the ring and not care what shows up, you know, and win. And that's what I want. You know, I don't want to champ out a dog where I'm like, man, I hope the competition's weak so I can get some points. Like,
Right.
you know, I want a dog, you know, like with her, I'm like, I want to beat the bad bitches with her. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to put her up against.
You don't want an
fucking
easy
monsters.
win. You don't want an
Nah,
easy
hell
win.
no. Because
You
what is
wanna-
that? Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
I see.
Like-
You know, it's like those posts you see on Facebook. Like, we went to the show and he took 3 firsts, but there was no comp. But you're not mentioning there was no comp. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
No, what is that?
why are you bragging about that?
Yeah, it shows
Yeah.
bumfucked Egypt. And there was only like 6 dogs or some shit.
Yeah. Like,
Well, and that's like the you know, the Sunday show I went to. You know, she's a thick pocket bitch. So they're like, and they had an extreme class. They're like, do you want to show her in pocket or extreme? And I said, put me in whatever one has the most competition.
yeah.
You know, because she can go either way. She's a thick bitch. She can go extreme or she can just go regular pocket. You know.
Right.
And I was like, whatever one has competition. Like, I don't want a free ribbon. You know, or not free. Shit, you got to pay for that ribbon.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm not paying $20 for a ribbon. You know, I'm paying for some points.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. So you know, I want you know, I want to take her out, and I want to beat good dogs. I want to beat nice bitches. You know.
Now, striking that balance between showing a female. There he is. He went away. Striking that balance between like showing a female and breeding her. You know, I've been in that predicament too, where you like, you know, she's in heat, she's running for points, but I got to try to continue my program too. I need to breed her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's what sucks about females, you know. And I remember at one point, this was years ago. Man, I had a nice bitch. She was a champion. And this bitch was on a 5-month heat cycle. And it's just like right before a big show, boom, in heat. And I was like, I will never campaign a female again. Because it was just like every time, man. She was either, and here's the thing, like, you almost gotta champ or grand champ these bitches before you even breed them. Because, you know, let's say, you know, you run up some points and then you breed her, and then, you know, she's on a 6-month cycle. You know, you breed her, 2 months later, she has the pups. You know, then you're whelping for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And if she snaps back, you only have 2 months to show her. If she snaps back, some females take a lot longer. A lot of females don't snap back until it's time for their heat cycle again.
Exactly.
So, like, if you can get a bitch to snap back in 8 weeks, you have 8 weeks to show her.
Right.
So it's like you're just so limited unless you want to skip a heat, you know, which I don't like to skip heats.
Either.
You know, you're gonna run into Pio and all that shit. Like, you wanna breed them while they're young, they're resilient, they snap back quick, retire them early, and let them enjoy life. You know.
Well, that was one of the things I almost had an issue with when I first came into it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a female up to breeding age. I'm gonna breed her 3 times, and then I'm gonna have her fixed, and she'll be right. At that point, now she's not having cycles anymore. Now I could show her all I wanted to, except for then the rule: you can't show a female if she's not, if she's fixed.
Right.
And that's the perfect time to show a female after you're done. She's fixed. You don't have to worry about her going to heat. You could just keep.
That's not a spay scar. It's a C-section scar.
But then at that point, it's like, what's the point? Because it's like you see a bet. You know, if I'm campaigning a bitch, it's because I'm trying to make a name for her, and I want people
to want to pup off her.
Man, when is she gonna have a litter?
Right,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then if you're like, well, she's fixed. Like, so why the hell are you showing her?
Yeah, we're going through the same predicament right now you just described.
Yep.
You know, we got our girl Little Debbie.
Yeah.
Right now she's number 1, you know, and she's doing heat anytime. Oh, and we're not gonna breed her. We're gonna try to maintain that number 1 spot. You know, finish the year out. Next year she can retire from the show ring. you know, and has some beautiful pups.
Right.
Yeah, and that, you know, that's the, you know, that's the hard part, you know, because you want something off of them so bad,
Right.
you know, and that's where I am with this girl. You know, she's due for heat in August.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, you know, she's 2 years old, and I've bred her and missed, so she's just gonna be one of those bitches that are like hard to take. So what if you skip another breeding? Or what if you skip a breeding and then you breed her again and she missed, and now you're a year behind?
Right.
You know, and that's the things that we don't, you know, think about. Like, we're like, oh well, I'll just skip. It's like, well, okay. In your mind, you're like, that'll put me back 6 months. But you know, what if you skip and then breed and then she don't take? Now you're back a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, you know, years when I first got in, it's like, you bred a bitch. You bred that bitch on 9, 11, and 13, and that bitch took.
Yeah.
Now you're doing progesterone. You got, you know, good looking semen. Everything's perfect. You know, you got her.
And you miss.
Boom. You're doing a fucking surgical. And it's like, dude, everything was perfect. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It can be.
I know.
Now, I think it's probably a little bit easier after you've been breeding for a while. Because I know when you first start, especially if you get the show bug, you're like, I want to get those titles. And you would consider putting off that breeding because you don't have a lot of grand champions in your yard. You don't have a lot of titles in your yard, right? But after you've done it for a while, well, you've got some of the titles. You want to continue, but, you know, the priority on the female starts to take over because, you know, okay, the future of my program is what's most important at the end of the day.
And shit, the way the breed is evolving, you know, 2 years, the breed changes so much in 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I know, you know, what you see in the classic class now is what used to be standards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you see some classics now, which some of those dogs probably shouldn't be in classic, probably should be in standard. But you're just like, you see some classics, you're like, damn, like that's, you know, when I saw classics, when I started breeding, classics were skinny, you know. But what classic was then, you know, like I said, the breed has evolved. So what's classic now is, you know, look back like a car, like what's a classic, you know, it evolves, it keeps going. So it's just like, what you hold out on that bitch, you know, she's hot right now, but in 3 years, how much is the breed going to change?
Yeah. And then
you keep putting her off. So it's like, you know, your breeder while she's hot, while what she is hot, while that phenotype is hot. Because, you know, like my first big name stud, if I busted him out right now in his prime, average ass dog.
Right.
You know, but.
And it'll be that way, you know, and a lot of times you'll see people like, they'll see a certain dog and they're like, you know, today this particular hot stud, and they're like, yeah, I want to produce a dog just like that. And they just don't realize by the time, even if you do produce it, which is unlikely, but by the time you do produce it, he won't be the hot shit anymore. There'll be another dog come along that's even bigger and better. So it's you always got to be shooting forward. You always got to be shooting past or for more than the current situation.
Yeah, and that's like, you know, I co-own a lot of my female puppies out, to, you know, to give me more breeding opportunities.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, what are we going to take her to? I'm like, dude, the stud we're taking her to might not be born yet, you know, or he might be a puppy. He might be 3 months old right now. Like, you know, I'm not planning shit out. You know, I will start after her first heat or after her second heat, depending on her maturity. We'll start looking at studs. You know, I was like, but I'm not looking at a single stud for her until I can even see what she needs. You know, I don't even know. Like, I don't know what that puppy's going to lack. I don't know if that puppy's going to need rear. I don't know if it's going to need head. I don't even know if it's going to need structure. Like, it's a puppy. Puppies are puppies. And people are like, yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, man. People will lock in studs for an 8-week-old puppy.
And I feel like that's those people that breed the pedigrees, you know?
Right.
Like, oh, she's this, and this stud is that. I'm gonna lock them in, you know?
Which on the surface of it, I mean, if you look at a pedigree and it's like all full of bulls, you know,
the
safe assumption, but it still isn't
But she has to turn out first.
Yeah, she still has to turn out. But at least the pedigree will tell you that deep down in what she's carrying with her, beyond her phenotype, she is genetically, she's going to pass it, you know. But you still got to wait for the physical characteristics to come too.
Yeah, and everything, you know, comes late, you know, for some dogs. It's like I got a runt right now, a runt puppy off of Chaco. People are like, what do you think he's going to be? Like, well, I don't know. Right now he's a runt. He's slim. You know, he's not a fat ass puppy, you know, but one of the biggest dogs I ever produced was a skinny little runt. That was, you know, my boy King Midas. One of the ugliest puppies I've ever had in my life. Wouldn't even post him. He was so ugly and skinny and just gross looking, like a pound puppy. Looked like I didn't feed him. He ended up being one of the biggest fucking dogs I've ever produced to this day.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's, you know, I'm not the type to, you know, sell people a dream like, oh, he's the runt, he's gonna be freaking massive. You just wait. You know, I'm like, hey, look, he could go either way. He could be the biggest dog I've ever produced, or he could just look like shit. You know, it's just, and the thing is, like, I don't know how you're gonna take care of it. I don't know the conditions of this dog. You know, like I don't know if you're gonna be working this dog. You know, I don't know if you're gonna leave him locked up. Like that matters. You know, if you've got him.
Yeah,
stuck in a crate all day, eating off the ground, off a bowl, you know, on a bowl on the ground, like he's probably gonna have fucked up pasture. It's like, yeah, and it has nothing to do with genetics at that point. You know, that's how he was raised, and people don't realize, you know, and that's why I don't guarantee shit when I sell you a puppy. I guarantee you that I'm giving you a healthy puppy that's been vet checked and, in my opinion, well bred.
Yeah.
But I can't guarantee you, like, we're a young breed. I can't guarantee you what the puppy's going to be. I can tell you what I did the breeding for and my ideas and why it made sense in my head to put these two dogs together. But I can't promise you that you're going to get a phenomenal specimen of a dog. Like, I just can't. Breed's too young.
Yeah.
We're not breeding retrievers, and I breed 2 golden retrievers. I know what everybody's going to look like.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, our genetics aren't locked in completely.
Not.
You know,
no.
There's so many variances in our genetics. You know, but like you said, a golden retriever, a damn, you know, German Shepherd, a Doberman, they're all gonna look the same.
Yeah.
You know.
They got consistency. But no, I've seen, you know, we had a litter that had 3 boys in it. And they were all lilac tribe males, all same height, all looked basically the same. They all went to 3 different homes, and one of them really didn't turn out. And, you know, when I look back at the 2 that went to these homes, the 2 that turned out nice, these boys were well fed, well exercised, well taken care of. The one boy immediately got sick. They didn't pay attention. They let him get sick. They let him get malnourished. And it just set him, and that kind of setback at a young age.
Oh yeah,
stunted him.
Yeah, it's detrimental. Like they'll never catch up from that. So yeah, even if you give a person the best genetically bred dog you can, if they don't take care of it, if they don't do it right, they're not going to get there.
Yeah. This is very much a breed where you have to feed the genetics. You know, if it's bred to be this or that, you got to supplement its growth. You got to help it get to what it's supposed to be as much as possible.
Yeah. And then with this breed, it can be quite the opposite too. You know, it can be where you got to take it way back because these dogs can get so fat so quick from the Bulldog gene. So it's like, you know, it's like what you're saying is like I got the example right now. I got a monster fat puppy, and then I got a skinny runt, both off the same litter. I got to pull her fat ass back because she won't stop eating. And if I don't, her feet are going to go out. She's going to have weak pasterns. She's blowing up. She is a monster. But her brother, I'm giving this dude Dine, vitamins, like, you know, so it's like, and I made this mistake early on. I bred, it was one of my first big breedings, and the puppies come out just three of the puppies were just monsters, just complete monsters. I mean, just the thickest, biggest bone freaks. And you get caught up in that shit. Oh, they're only 3 months and they're already 30 pounds, and you're just throwing the food to them, not realizing that you are fucking up their joints. Like, you are fucking up these dogs' hips. And that's me being a young breeder at the time. I'm getting all hyped over the scale, and I'm just, feeding the shit out of these dogs, not realizing that what I should have been doing is cutting the food back, pulling them away from the bowl, and letting them, get a lot more exercise, because I was setting them up for failure. And see, that's the funny thing about this breed. Me and you, and you know it because you're educated, but you might have to tell one person, like, you got to feed the genetics, and then you might have to tell another person, hey man, you got to pull back. So it's like we can contradict ourselves right there in 5 minutes, just because the breed, like we said, the breed is so young and it's all over the place. Like, you can do the same breeding and get two completely different animals.
Right.
Yeah, I've definitely seen instances where you feel like you don't want to feed the dog as much as it wants to eat. And there's that potential that you could be holding that dog back a little bit.
Yep.
They have those breeding, those growth states. If they're in the middle of a growth spurt and you're holding food back, it could affect them. There's so much you have to pay attention to, not a lot. You got pups right now. I'm pretty sure I could just let them eat all, keep filling their bowl.
Oh yeah.
No breaks.
No breaks. Yeah. And those puppies always look great at that 3-4 week mark, where they're just off mama, transitioning on mush. They're short, they're squatty, they're round. They're short upper arms, like bone density. Everything looks great. Yeah. And then they start growing, and people want to chase that image of that short, squatty pup, so they just overfeed a pup when it's going through its lanky stage, and that's where you're messing up these pups.
100%. Somebody made the post the other day. How many times a day do you feed your puppies? And there's no right answer, because
it depends on the puppies.
I've had pups that I free feed until they're 6 months old. I always have food available. My adults I feed once a day. This Chaco daughter I got at about 4 months, I had to go ahead and switch her to just once a day feedings, because she got so fucking big. And I was like, if I free feed this dog, she's gonna be so fat, and her feet are gonna be so jacked up, and she's not gonna be able to move. Her joints are gonna hurt. So it's like, there's no one answer. There's no right answer. It's just, it depends on the dog. Like, is the dog skinny? Is the dog fat? Because I would have had a fat little hippo with all kinds of problems if I would have, if I free fed her for 6 months. Yeah. So literally 4 months old, 16 weeks, once a day.
Jeez.
That's just all she needed. She was monstrous.
Let me ask you this, because we've been throwing this question at a lot of people. We get a semi-consistent answer, so I imagine I have an idea of what you're going to say. But when do you start, and we'll separate it now because we're learning that people separate it. When do you start to evaluate a dog as far as the structure goes? And then when do you start to evaluate a dog based off of what you think the mass and the bone will be?
I've been wrong. I've been proved wrong so many times. At 8 weeks, I feel like I can start getting my general idea. But then at 6 months, I'm completely wrong. So I'll say once the dog hits about 6 months, for me, I can get a general idea of what that dog's going to be. Because that's like, I had a dog I bought. This was years ago. This was back when like Waffle House was like super hot. This is probably, 5 years ago. And the guy sold me the dog because he was super cowhocked. And, he told me when he sold me the dog, he's like, listen, he's very cow hawk. He's not going to be a show dog, you know. And I was going for a show dog, and he's just not there. And then I kept the dog. I bought him. The dude sold him super cheap. I got the dog. I worked the shit out of the dog. Walked every day, leash trained him, took him to Lowe's. And then I met the guy at a show here in North Carolina, and he showed his best champion female, and I took best in show with the dog that he sold me and told me wouldn't be show quality because his hocks are so bad. And he just had to grow into his hocks. Like, you know, he made it, and he was like, he said, I screwed up. He's like, but I'm glad you got him. Yeah. He admitted, he's like, man, I screwed up. And he's like, I told you I wasn't selling you a show dog, and you know, this was right at COVID. The dog, he had 3 majors and 140 points. I needed a class win to champ him out, and then boom, COVID happened. The dog never champed. I thought about one day just bringing him out to get a class win. He'd be in the 3-0 class now, but you know, I kind of. He just went a different direction, or I guess I went a different direction. You know, he's super clean, muscled up, but just doesn't have the mass that I'm after. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of just have him with a partner. They love him to death, you know. They treat him like a pet. He's still breedable, can still breed if anybody wants to breed to him, but he's just kind of went, you know, a different direction. Yeah. But I mean, that just goes to show the guy sold me the dog really cheap because he wasn't a show dog, and this guy was a dog who breeds for the ring. And so I'll say you can get your ideas around 8 weeks. Yeah. But I think six months for me is, you know, when I can tell. And you know, one of my Choco daughters right now is turning 6 months, and I'm looking at her like, yeah, you're gonna be a show dog. You know, you've got the breed type, and you've got the super wide. But you know, I probably won't bring her out until 9 months because I don't bring a dog out until I feel like they can get majors. Yeah. And I was explaining this to my buddy the other day. He's like, man, she'll kill the 6 to 9 month class. And I was like, yeah, but I want her to get the major. I want her to get the best female. Like, I don't want to go pay $80 for 40 points. You know what I mean? Like,
and then have to wait.
Yeah, like I'm okay with paying $80, you know, for 120 points, you know. Right. But I'm not gonna, you know. I used to take pride. You know, I always say like I want an $80 title, which is where, you know, you show 4 times and you get 150 points and, you know, at least 3 majors. It's an $80 title. You know, I don't want to pay $300 for a title. Right. You know, and you guys understand perfectly what that means because you guys show dogs. But I want an $80 title, or I want a title as cheap as I can get it. I mean, and it has nothing to do with being cheap. It's a pride thing, you know.
It's a pride thing. You brought the right dog out. You brought the right dog. You produced the dog well enough to be able to be so competitive that it titles out in one event. Like, yeah, that's the vision. That's what you should be aiming for when you breed dogs.
Yeah, because you know, like the girl I just showed, the one I brought out, $80, 4 shows. She got all her majors and she got 140 points, or 110 points. I'm sorry, she needs 40 points. So her title is either going to cost me $100 or $120. Yeah, like that's okay. I can deal with $120 title. Yeah, I don't want to pay $200 for a title. And that means I got to bring a nice dog out because I don't want to go to 3 events to champ a dog out. Like that's too much, right? You know, I want to be able to champ that dog out in 2 events. 1 event, that's ideal, but 2 events, that's the goal. You know, at least 2 events or less. So, you know, I know when she goes out again, within the first or second show, she'll have her title. She'll have her 40 points. Hopefully in the first show, but you know that's tough. You know, depending on the competition.
Yeah, it certainly can be. There are more and more good dogs in the ring.
Oh man,
I don't know how many times we've been left after an event chasing 10 points.
Oh God, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the worst. Like 10 points, bro. I gotta wait 2 weeks, or I gotta wait a week, or whatever it is, for 10 points. Like, I know if there was one more show, I know they would have got it.
Oh man, yeah, and that hurts, and that's so the female I'm talking about, I champed her mom out young at like 9 months, and I was showing BRC at the time at this one show, and I was going into the last show. I needed 5 points. All right, she had won everything that day. She had gotten best female and some best overall standards that day.
Yeah.
I needed 5 points. She had just swept. And at the time, I didn't know that you got points for second place in BRC. I just, assumed it was like ABKC, you only get points for first. So I'm counting up, our first 3 shows and all our points. And I was like, okay, I need 5 points. I go in there, all the same dogs. I'm like, oh yeah, this will be easy. Get second place. Man, I walk out of that ring. I throw my ribbon in the trash. I pack my shit up, and I go home. And then my fucking champion title comes in the mail. I'm like, what the fuck? So I left, and it sucks because it ruined my day. But I left with a champion and had no fucking clue.
And no clue.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I needed 5 points, and I got them, and didn't know it. But yeah, so her mom did it, quick, and that was her second show. So it wasn't her first event. So she had racked up some points at her first show, and then this was her second event. So I knew her point count and everything. And at that last event, I was so mad. But yeah, and that was part of the point. I was like, I don't want to pay for another show. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I wanted to go.
It does.
Yeah.
It's your whole Saturday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's the principle of like, if you've got to pay $300-$400 to champ your dog out, and I'm just talking about show fees, not handling fees. That's totally separate. But if you got to pay, $300 in show fees, like there's no pride in that. The only way I can say it's okay is if you brought that dog out at 6 months, just for training. And there may be a dog that I might have to bring out at 6 months just because it's going to need to be in the atmosphere, need hands put on it just to be adjusted. But, that's like showstopper. I brought her out, her first show, 110 points, 3 majors. First time ever being seen in public like that, and that's the goal. I want to bring a dog out. That people were like, why don't you show? I was like, well, I'm really picky on my yard, and I'm only going to show if I know I'm going to win. Yeah, that's the end of it.
We'll get a correction here. With the American Bully, we can't champ out under a year. No, that's not true. Mm-hmm. I've got a grand champion that
I was about to say you got the youngest female grand champion, don't you?
Yeah, she granded at 10 months.
Yeah, and see, that's nuts. That's God. Yeah, grand champion is what I meant. That's incredible. Like that.
Bulldog.
That may never be beaten.
Bulldog. I'm not sure about the Bulldog. I have a Frenchie that dual champ before he was a year.
I champed out a Frenchie at 7 months old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything. If you got the points, you got the points.
Yeah, ABKC. Right. I think it's
I think that's anywhere.
What registry was that?
That may be a different registry now.
Eric, what registry was your Frenchie?
I think it was BRC. The first title, this bitch had 5 titles. And she champed out in everything. She champed out in ABKC, BRC, ICBR. At the time, it was BBCR. But she was one of those bitches. At 6 months, she looked full grown. And she was phenomenal. And she needed one more champion title to grand.
Yeah.
But it was one of them things where she would be in heat or have a litter. Because this bitch had a 1-year cycle. I bred her 4 times, and she had 4 litters, 4 AIs in her life. She came in once a year, and she took every time.
Damn.
And in her fourth litter, on her fourth litter, on her fourth litter, I asked the vet, like, how's her uterus? And He's like, and she's good to go again. I was like, oh, I'm not going again. Like that was 4. He goes, oh, well, she's perfect. She's perfect for another litter. Like no scarring.
She was made to produce.
Oh, she was the best mom. I use this bitch with my bully litters. You know how like you'll have the mom that won't clean her pups?
Yeah.
So I would have my bullies, on day, 1 through 4 or whatever, depending on the mom. I would have the pups, on the mom. And, the moms, as soon as you take your hands off of them, they're up and out of the litter box.
Yeah.
And this Frenchie would jump in there and stimulate everybody, clean everybody. But Frenchies are nasty and they're little shit eaters, so she's probably just trying to get shit. But
she was a meal.
Yeah,
her meal.
But man, it was so awesome because she would just jump in the box and she would stimulate all my pups.
Now, do you still breed Frenchies?
No.
Oh man,
I'm out of it. It's just I didn't choose to get them. My wife did.
Right.
So I never was like in love with the breed. It was just kind of one of those situations where like you're gonna breed something, I want to do something, but it ended up being my whole deal. So I ended up with 2 breeds.
I know a way to get you back to breeding Frenchies.
I just couldn't. I tried to be passionate about them, but I couldn't be passionate like I was the bully. And I don't want to be breeding something just to be breeding it.
Yeah.
Because I just like, how you'll get into a little rabbit hole with the bullies, man. Y'all be freaking 20 gens back in Bullypedia and just I'll be looking at this dog and every male off that dog. And
it's not the same with Frenchies.
No,
it's not. And with all the new colors, you don't know what the hell's really behind and where that color came from. Because now, I can't even keep up with the damn breed anymore. You got the freaking Isabellas and the Rojos and the Fluffies and the Hairless and now they got the Floodles and it's like I can't keep up with the shit.
Yeah, it's one of those things like if you don't have a passion for it, it definitely would make it tough. I think they're cute, don't get me wrong. Like we just and I think they're cute as shit, but that's not where my interest lies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I kind of what I told my wife. I was like, I'm not trying to make the next best Frenchie. Mm-hmm. So I'm not gonna breed something that my heart's not in. And I did get into it for a minute, and I kind of was like, all right, well, I'm kind of in, and then I just was like, man, I'm not passionate about it. Like
I'm the same way. We had our first official Frenchie litter a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now, and I took our male keeper, campaigned the hell out of him, dual grand champ in under a year old, dual grand champ.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a personality conflict.
Yeah, for me. And I'll tell you, the female that I had, Champion Fifi, that was my favorite dog to show. Mm-hmm. Like me and this girl had a brain connection, and that's why she got 5 champion titles, because I just loved to show her. I would show her everywhere, and she would free stack for me if I had a treat. Like she loved to show. She loved to please me. Like I was her person, and I love showing that dog. To this day, I would show her over any dog that I've ever had, because she was just fun to show, and we were like, I knew what she was going to do in the ring.
Right.
And you didn't have to make any adjustments. You didn't have to, squat them, overstack them. You didn't have to, the pace. Like you didn't. She was just easy, and I loved it. And I took her to every show I went to, and I showed her everywhere. But I just couldn't, I just couldn't get into the lineage, And then the more I bred, I had a stud, which I still have him, or, we co-own him, or my wife co-owns him. But, he's, he's a Isabella carrier, New Shade Isabella. And it's like with the Frenchie breeders, it was more so not where your dog came from or what does your dog carry.
Carries
what's DNA.
Yeah. What can he produce color-wise?
Yeah, does he carry Pie?
Not
Does he carry Brindle? Does he carry Isabella? It's like, man,
not the fact that he's a grand champion. His mother's a dual champion. His grandmother's a grand champion. Like, he comes from very titled dog heritage, right? They don't care about that shit.
No, and it was like,
what colors do you carry? Like, what about structure?
Yeah,
Let's,
no, and that,
what I
I
mean?
was at a show, and it was a primarily, there was more exotics there than anything. I'll say that. And there was this dog, and it didn't even look like a Frenchie. It looked like a fucking Pekingese Shepherd. Like, I don't know what the hell it looked like. It was fluffy and
like
there was a group of guys. Man, it had to be 50 pounds. And they're like, yeah, man, he's rojo and tan, and he carries this, and they're like, yo, what's your info? And I'm like, why are you breeding that shit? Like, don't breed that dog. Like, holy shit. That's not even a Frenchie anymore.
Right.
And people were just like, oh, man, yeah, if you breed him, you can get fluffy rojos and all this shit. I'm like, man, what are y'all doing, man? Like, it's not even a Frenchie anymore, dude. Like, it's more of a corgi than it is a Frenchie.
Right. Corgi. I think it's one of my issues with the Frenchie is, like, I have such a bully eye for things. Like, the one female that I bought, Encore, the reason that really I was attracted to her because she had really exaggerated shoulders, really exaggerated rear. Like, if you took her head off and put a bully head on it, she could be a bully, just a really tiny one. So that's what attracted me to her. But I'm like, that's not the breed standard. And my brain would want to lean toward that. So I just ruin the breed.
Yeah. And then, and I feel like more so exotic breeders, but bully breeders too, have ruined the Frenchie, the standard of the Frenchie, because, I'm addicted to that muscle, the shoulders, the spread, the big head. I want my Frenchie to have muscles.
Exactly.
I want it, and that's another reason. I'm like, that's not necessarily what the Frenchie's supposed to be.
No.
Right.
So I would be one of the guys probably ruining the breed, and I don't want to do that. It's not my breed. And the bully community we've completely fucked the Frenchie.
Yeah.
More so the exotic community, but they're not Frenchies anymore. And I posted my Frenchie one time, and I had it in a side stack, and they were like, this bully breeder's like, yeah, the rear's a little high. It's like, you fucking idiot. Like, it's not supposed to have a flat top on, dude. Like,
man. Damn, why is your
ignorance? I'm like, I'm not even going there with you.
Why is your Frenchie roach back?
Yeah, Frenchie got a roach back. Like, I was like, I'm not even going there with this guy. Like, I'm just gonna leave this comment be, because I'm not confrontational.
There ain't no rear angulation on that Frenchie,
bro.
Yeah, there shouldn't be. I remember when Dina was stacking Encore out. Yeah, she's back there like picking her legs up and setting them back down. And the back ones, I was like, no. So the Frenchie, you just pick up their ass and drop it. And they can be straight leg, roach back, perfect. That's exactly like. Don't
you want them to be cobby.
Yeah,
you want them to be cobby, compact. Not stretched out. None of that
which
shit.
is weird because it's still a bulldog, right? And a bulldog has exaggerated shoulders, but the French bulldog shouldn't. I'm like,
and that's. I spent a lot of time breaking down oldies and English bulldogs and every bulldog, because anybody knows that our dog, they're now more so bulldog than they are pit bull.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, we're trying to get away from the pit bull, and the only way to get away from the pit bull is to add more bulldog. And obviously, you still want to keep pit bull characteristics, but the American bully now, I would say, is more bulldog than pit bull.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time breaking down all the bulldog breeds to figure out what type of bulldog was in my bully. Looking at the rear, looking at their face, just looking at the skin, looking at the stop, just like what kind of bulldog is behind my dog? Because it's there, you know. Was it English? Was it oldie? You know, you're looking at the tails, like, you know. So I think anybody that wants to breed bullies should learn a shit ton about the bulldog to really understand your breed.
Yep.
And you know, partially when I really got into that is because, you know, I started judging for the ICBR, and I didn't want to pick the wrong dog. You know, I wanted to make sure that all the dogs that I was studying, you know, I wanted to make sure, you know, I would have the judging book and the ring with me, you know, because I didn't want to pick the wrong dog, you know, and so, and then I got, you know, you get stuck in these rabbit holes with pedigrees and stuff. Well, then I got stuck in these bulldog rabbit holes where I'm like, where did these traits come from? You know, why are these bullies got these skinny rears now? You know? And which bulldog did that come from?
Right.
And, and what bloods carry this type of bulldog, which is what bloods carry, you know, obviously exotics are going to carry more of your shorter Englishes and your Frenchies and stuff like that. And then, you know, a lot of your bigger bullies are going to carry more oldie blood and, you know, Johnson Bulldog blood, stuff like that. So, you know, you take a lot of these, some of these big ass oldies now, you clip their damn ears, they'll probably go champ out in the damn bully class.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Hell,
I was going to say, if I could get away with breeding one of my bullies or one of Chris Moore's oldies, I would do it.
I mean, here's the thing. You might already have it in there and not even freaking know it. Here's what I had this conversation with a breeder last night. I said, here's the thing. Somebody had to do it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can't even knock who did it. Because if somebody didn't do it, we'd just be all stuck with pit bulls and staffies.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
You know, we'd be, you know, we'd have these shredded up, skinny, you know, high strung dogs, which does not fit my lifestyle. You know, I like my bully, you know, I got my bully right over here sitting beside me in the chair chilling.
Yeah.
You know, if it was a staffy, it'd be over there chewing on the freaking couch furniture.
Yeah, right.
You know, this is, you know, these dogs are my companions. You know, they're supposed to chill and watch freaking football with me.
Yep.
You know, and you couldn't do that without adding in the bulldog.
No.
You know?
Yeah. Oh no, to level it out.
To
calm it down, you know.
We wouldn't have those massive front arms, which is one of my favorite traits.
Yep, exactly.
You know, I want those fucking Popeye arms, you know? Like I love that.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I remember who we were interviewing somebody. He said you could have bred the pit bull for 1,000 years and not got to where we are right now.
No. Yeah, I don't care how many pit bulls and staffies I don't care how many pit bulls and staffies you put together. You're never gonna get this. You know, not with that. You got to bring in an outside source, you know. So
that's funny. When I first came into the breed, that was still a big deal. Like if you acknowledged that there was
the taboo.
They were like, oh, how you just do it.
Yeah. Oh, when I first started breeding, it was like, oh, don't fuck with that Dax blood. Like that's bulldog. His dad's a bulldog or his mom's a bulldog. But don't fuck with that. You know, you had these Dax haters like when I first started. And I was like, man, that's the coolest dog I've ever seen. You know what I mean? At the time, I was like, that's a cool ass dog. You know, all the sons were hot. Lucky was hot. You know, Cash Pot was hot. Phenom was hot. Like all these dogs are hot. Like, man, all the dogs I like look like that. You like, I don't, you know, and then even, you know, you look at some of the old school Ed's dogs. Shit, they had it too.
Yeah.
You know, they had it too. They just weren't as short.
Mm.
Yeah, so that shit's been, you know, going down since day one, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And we wouldn't be where we are without it, but it's like he just said, taboo, you know, to talk about it.
Yeah.
Can't talk about it.
Can't talk about it, but we all know it's there, you know. It had to have happened.
Yeah.
Well, you know, my pick off the last litter, I just had, and I picked the bulldogiest bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know she's gonna throw thicker puppies when she's done. You know, when she's done maturing, she's got some of the extra skin. She's got that little bit of extra. She's got the thickest arms and she's got the extra skin on her arms, which I know she's gonna get even bigger. She's got a, you know, squished in muzzle. she's got a perfect bite. She doesn't have an underbite right now. I could go to hell real quick, but she's got a good tail. She moves good. You know, she checks all the boxes that an 8-week-old puppy could check. And I could almost guarantee you she's gonna be a freaking bull.
Yeah.
And she's the bulldogiest one, and then she's got a brother that's terrier as hell. He's the runt. But the thing is, the runt can change really quick. So it's like we were talking about earlier. You don't know what the hell you got at 8 weeks. You know, you think you know what you got. You hope you know, but we're a young breed. This shit goes south.
Give it time, it'll change.
Especially if you're looking at, you know, certain straight, like the straight stifle, short upper arm, 4 months old, you're not seeing none of that. They're not starting to show it yet. They go through a certain growth spurt, and then all of a sudden, there it is, you know. So you buy a puppy at 8 weeks and everything looks straight, and by 6 months, you're like, what the hell just happened? You know, and there's no way for you to know.
And the hardest thing to see in a young puppy is movement, because they're like freaking rabbits. They jump. They just jump everywhere. Right. So you can't see, and it's either you don't get that gait pace. They're either standing or they're freaking sprinting. Yeah, like a toddler. They're
both rear legs going off at the same time.
Yeah. So people are like, well, how's it move? I'm like, man, it moves like a puppy. You know, it doesn't. It's not. You know, I don't know what the gait looks like. And you know, I'm like, you try to walk an 8-week-old puppy, you tell me how it moves. Yeah. Now, some at 3 months, you can get some to walk at 3 months. There's some special ones now that you can actually get a gait around 3 months. They're very few and far between, but I haven't been that lucky. But I've seen them. I've seen some impressive shit at a 36-month class where I'm like, how the hell did you do that?
Yeah, how'd you get them to do that?
You got a gift of patience that I'll never have.
Yeah, that's why you have Hannahs and your handlers. You're just like,
oh, they'll just take your dog and make you look like a jackass. Like,
and honestly, I used to lie to her. I'd be like, "Oh yeah, we've been working with him. You know, getting good." I'm like, I ain't done good with this dog.
I ain't do shit. And it saw a leash the first time yesterday. Shit.
Yeah. And just she'll be out there like 10 minutes, and that dog's like stacking out, gating around. I'm just like, that's why that's why she does what she does.
Oh, and people don't understand how much of a gift and how important your handler is. The first thing people are going to scream is politics. No, like, well, that dog only won because of the handler. So that dog won because Roger was showing. That's the only reason that dog won. You know, I'm just going to use you as an example, but it's like, well, if you notice, like, that handler has got a gift that handler can hide and can also show. It can hide the weaknesses and show the strengths. That's the gift of a handler. That's the gift. That handler knows, like, if I walk a little too fast, you're gonna see how shitty the reach is. Right. You know, right? I need to walk this dog faster to hide this high rear. Right. You know, I need to stack this dog this way to level out that top line, or I have to turn these elbows in to hide those feet. Right. Those are skills. Yeah. Those are gifts. Those are skills. You know, that normal people, I don't want to say normal people, everyday people aren't gonna know to do. And you know, I could tell you right now, like, there's some handlers out there that'll take my dog and outshow me just because they're just skilled at it. And you know, you do something every weekend, you're gonna be the best. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why you see, like, go ahead.
My biggest thing that people forget is a lot of these professional handlers select what dogs they're showing. They don't just take any dog. Oh, yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. They don't take just anybody's money. They want a competitive dog.
Yeah.
They want a dog that has a chance of winning.
And perfect example. Last week, I sent a dog last week to Logan Jones.
Oh yeah, phenomenal.
I knew this dog was gonna be just a pain in the ass. Stubborn, does not like to work, spoiled as hell. asked Logan how he was doing. Logan even brought him out to a show. Didn't show him, just wanted him to get adjusted to the atmosphere. Dog's a curveball. He's a fucking bull, but he's a curveball. Don't know what he's gonna do. And then so I was like, hey Logan, I want to run this by you. I got another dog. When you send a dog to a handler, generally you pay like a monthly fee. I said, I want you to check out, I got a really nice brim sign. He loves to work, lots of drive, great structure. I know he's going to be, a beast. And Logan comes over to my house, grabs some bait, puts the dog on a leash, and he's like, this dog wants to work. He's like, yes. He goes, I'll champ this dog out quick. And so I swapped dogs, and that's, just what you just said. Handlers pick what dogs they're going to do,
Right.
And so Logan knows, like, that dog is going to win because he checks the boxes. So with the other dog, you look at him, he's out running around at the house. He checks all the boxes. You put him on a leash, throw him in the ring, he don't check anything.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. He's checking for the door.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
So Logan brings his ass back. And plus, the dog does not like car rides. So Logan's like, man, I don't want to take this dog like a long way because, he's going to freak out. I'm like, yeah, man, you're right. And I don't want to put that on you either.
Right. Yeah.
So, and the other dog rides great, travels well, shows well, wants to work, loves bait. The other dog wouldn't touch bait, wouldn't sniff bait. So, that's the perfect example of,
and that's the thing, like to the everyday like bully person who isn't avid show goers. This isn't just I'm gonna show up with a random dog and beat everybody. This is who I am. It's very much a strategy, just like any competitive sport. This is for these professional handlers. This is a sport. This is their sport, and it's very much about strategy. I'm gonna go in there and win because the dog at the end of my lead has a great chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I can champ out that stray because of who I am.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that,
Exactly.
And now the this community especially is very vocal.
Yes.
Very vocal. So if you bring out a bullshit ass dog and win, there's gonna be
all over
1,000 posts the next day.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the thing. People will harp on a single flaw.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck did that dog win with a high rear? It's like every dog in that ring has a fucking flaw. Like every dog in that ring's got a flaw, and you're pointing at one dog with a high rear. What about that dog with a terrible bite? What about that dog with Easty Westy? What about that dog with zero confidence? What about that dog with one freaking nut? You know what I mean? Like they all got one. They all got one. At least one. There's not a perfect dog in that ring, so it's like, you gotta like that dog won because it fit the standard better than the rest of them did.
Right.
That's just what it is.
You're
harping on that one flaw.
Yeah.
It's the dog that'll progress the breed.
Yeah.
That's the dog that should win. Just like we had Dave Wilson on a few weeks ago, and he said, it isn't about all of the whole point of a dog show is to show your best brood stock. That was the whole point of dog shows back then.
Mm-hmm.
What dog can progress the breed? Let's put it in a ring. And if your breed is, if your breed, most important parts of your breed is type and characteristics, and then it goes into flaws. I understand if it was the other way around. Flaws were the first thing when it came to describing your breed, but it's not. It's type and characteristics.
And a good judge will not fault judge.
Right.
Fault judging is the sign of a bad judge. And everybody on the sidelines will fault judge. And that's how you know they don't know shit.
Yeah.
Fault judging. It's like, dude, you're doing what a bad judge would do. That's why you're not in the fucking ring.
And all they really care about is that we call the 40-foot flaw, right? It's whatever flaw they can see at 40 feet away.
Oh, yeah.
Because there could be a dog out there that's massively undershot, could be easty, westy, could have splayed feet, could be cowhawk to hell. They don't see that when the dog's stacked out. They don't say nothing about it.
You don't know. Sometimes you don't know a lot about a dog till you're right up on them
or touching them,
and then touching them. So I was judging an ICBR show one time. Beautiful big ass chocolate tri-male comes in, just beautiful monster, something I would breed to. Dog will not settle down. I get to the dog, try to check his bite, will not let me check his bite. I try to check the nuts, will not let me check his nuts. By far the best dog in the ring, right? Doesn't gate worth a shit. Looks like he's never been on a leash. I don't place the dog. And I tell the owner, like, listen, man, you had the best dog in the ring. I said, I don't know how many nuts your dog had. I don't know if he has 1 nut, 2 nut, 3 nuts. I was like, I don't know what his bite looks like. Like, I was like, how can I place a dog that I can't check?
You evaluate, yeah.
I wasn't allowed to evaluate your dog. So if I placed your dog, that would say a lot about me because I wasn't allowed to examine your dog. And, that just goes to show if you've got a badass dog, but a judge can't examine it, you ain't got shit in the ring.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah,
now, and then there are some dogs that just aren't meant for this. Some dogs that just don't like being in the ring, period.
Oh, man.
Being car rides, they don't want nothing to do it. You know what I mean? They're great breeders, but they just hate being in the show ring.
Oh, man, Chaco, he hated it. He did not like the ring. I even took him to a show one time. It was a small show. It was an outside show. He got 2 best in shows that day. Loved it. It was outside. You take it inside, he don't like it. He hates it.
He closes up.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, as far as stacking, he would stack all day. Love to stack. Look confident. Look great. When it comes to dragging him around the ring, changing directions, he didn't want a part of it. No part of it. So he was a perfect stack dog. But when it came to just showing in general inside, didn't love it. Now, if it was old school and everything was outside, it'd do with a grand champion in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Show outside in a heartbeat. He did not like it. And he was a house dog, which was weird. He was a house dog, but hated indoor shows.
Yeah, these dogs.
You think it'd be his element.
And then, my female here, she hates the texture of the concrete floor. I got to the show last week, walks in to the building, touches the floor, wants to freeze up. I'm going to drag her around a little bit. I was like, well, this shit ain't going down today. Put her in a crate, let her chill, bring her out. Doesn't want to walk. I get her to the ring. She hits the texture of the ring, shows like a champion.
Wow.
I leave the ring, get back on the concrete, wants to freeze up. She hated the texture of the concrete. She was just weird about it.
Yeah.
So I just, got her to the texture. And once you got her to that texture, perfect. But she does not like the texture of slick concrete.
That's great.
That's little things you got to find out about the dog.
It's funny. We had a female who didn't like walking on like linoleum or tile.
Yeah.
So we had to put carpet runners throughout parts of the house that had that. And she would jump to them, walk, and then jump to the other one, walk. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, my first female did not like tile floor. And she loved to ball. She was ball crazy. It would be in the living room, and I would, at the time, my old house had carpet in the living room, and I would throw her ball into the kitchen, and she would just run to the edge of the tile and just stand there and stare at the ball, would not go on the tile. That's so weird. She broke it after a while, but forever, she would not touch that tile.
I recently proved now we got two different generations of dogs that like to bite at the water hose. And I think this is inheritable. And Precious's mom, Mimi, is insane with a water hose. She will drown biting at it. And Precious got it. Precious's daughter's got it. Precious' daughter off another breeding got it. So there's like 4 females.
Yeah.
And they all just, the one will literally drown. She would just stand there with her mouth wide open.
I got one.
Like crazy about it. It's funny, a behavioral trait like that, it just gets passed down. Because I have other dogs, you pull up a water hose, they'll take off running. Like they don't want
I've got two. I've got a brim son and a grim son. My brim son, he will choke on that water hose. He will have his mouth open. He will attack it. My grandson, as soon as you grab the water hose, he runs to a doghouse.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, what happened to you in your past life? Like, you've never even been sprayed before. Like, I'm filling up water bowls. He's in a doghouse. But the brim son, he is trying to choke on that water. He's trying to figure out how to kill that water.
Oh, and you mean you got a water biter down there? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he bites the shit out of some water. He's trying to. It's to the point. Some days I have to lock him up when I'm filling up water because I'm like, come on, dude, like I can't fill up any water bowls when he's around.
Yeah, it's in the summertime when it's hot outside. I've got him out in the field, and I can see they're starting to get a little warm. I can walk out there with a water hose and just shoot it in the air, and like those dogs are soaking wet and cool, and there's dogs hiding up on the hill from the water, panting their ass.
Now at nighttime, I'll play with him with it. I'll let him play with the hose. But in the morning, like, look, I gotta go to work, dude. You're not getting me soaked because you always get soaked. Yeah, it splashes back at you.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that's just like you said. It's like instinctually inherited because I can see the difference in pups when they're pups. Like which one likes water, which one hates fucking water. Same thing. I'm filling up a water bowl. I got pups from the same litter running up trying to bite the shit, and the other ones are running away from it.
Yeah.
Now we just got to figure out if it's pit bull or bulldog.
I think bulldog likes the water.
I'm thinking too.
Yeah, because they're goofy.
Because they're goofy.
Yeah. And every one of my dogs that are like that are more bulldogish looking dogs.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, some just got this weird little quirks like that.
Now, do you let me ask you, do you do any genetic testing?
I did with all my Frenchies. I think I'm going to start with my bullies. I feel like I'm getting more people asking about it now. So I think I'm going to start. I've never been, heavily into it, but it seems like the breed's going that way, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because all your other established breeds are going that way. But yeah, I haven't been, heavily into it just because, when I came up, nobody was doing it.
Right.
And so then when I got into the Frenchies, everybody you spoke to
was asking for it.
They were asking for the genetic.
What's the color panel?
And it was more so color.
Yeah.
They didn't give a shit about the bad traits. They just wanted to know what colors it carried.
Yeah.
So with Frenchies, if you're breeding any type of color, you've got to, if you want to sell anything, you got to get it tested, color tested at least.
Right.
But, I just feel like, it was just like never a thing with the bullies.
Right.
But now it is becoming that way, which it's progressive. So that's good.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to end up getting into it, and also I want the best product that I can have.
Right.
But it's just one of those things where it's kind of like, well, nobody ever asked for it, But now people are starting to a little bit. But, if, I made a post about puppies today, probably got hit up 50 to 60 times. Not one person asked about testing.
Yeah.
Not saying that that's a terrible thing. It's just that we haven't been, pushed to ask.
Right. Yeah, it hasn't really been normalized. Recently.
It hasn't. It's not normalized. It's a good word. It's not normalized.
ABKC recently came out and said, your stud has to be tested after, what is it? It's like after it has so many litters or something. I don't know what it was. But,
and AKC does that, after my Frenchie stud, after his, 5th or 6th breeding, we had to do DNA, which we already had it, but
right.
They required it. They had to have it.
Yeah, I had one of the things that got me into it is I had a dog. I think it was Louis V blood, and there was something going on with him. He was really just the way he was built. He was weird, and we got Embark and we ran on it, and we find out that he had CDDY, which is some version of like dwarfism or some shit, and it. If you look back in his pedigree, there was like an exotic in there or something, down the line in his pedigree. Yeah. So this carried down. And then, me at the time being fairly new, I was like, oh, what the hell else? How many other of these dogs have this shit?
Oh
Yeah.
So we pet homed him, and then we've just been testing ever since. But primarily, I mean, you're only looking for a couple of things with American Bullies. Looking for CDD1, you don't want to double up on that. You want to look for CDDY, which I've never seen another bully with it other than that one. But there's only really a couple traits, but I have a lot of fun with it with the color, which color isn't that important to me, but just being a nerd sometimes is fun, just sitting down and like figuring out, if I breed this dog to this dog, these are the color combinations I can get, even though it's still all coin flip.
Oh man, that's my buddy. He's a big he's big into the colors, and he's like, oh yeah, this one's like AYAT, and he's just like, if I do this, I can get this and this, and I'm just like, dude, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like,
just let me see the bull.
Yeah, he's
the dog. Let me see the dog.
He knows everything there is to know about color, and I'm just like, man, that's cool. Like,
that's the thing, man. Like for me, that's the very, very last thing I look at.
Yeah. The only thing I try to avoid is, I don't know, maybe a little bit. I don't want. I don't know. I can't really think about it if it was a color I really don't care for necessarily in the American Bully.
I think for me, and this is a perfect, and it may be because I just had one of the worst ones, but Flex was my baby. He was like my son, right? I mean, he was with me until the day we had to put him down, and he was an asshole, and he was predominantly white, and he would get dirty out of spite.
Yeah.
And like this dude, you gave him a bath, he would go outside and roll in the grass. And like if we just mowed, he would roll in the grass, come back in green. Like, and he was like, he made me like, I'm never getting another white dog. And then, I have other people white dogs like, man, we never had that problem. I was like, I guess I just had an asshole white dog.
Yeah.
Because this dude just would try his best to look like dingy and dirty. And God, it would piss me off.
It's so hard after they get so dirty. If you don't stay on top of it, then you're using whitening shampoo, trying to bring them back around.
Oh, but even then, like we have quite a few white dogs here, and I mean, what they'll look like a sheet of paper, but then you put them out in the snow, and you're like, why are you fucking yellow?
Yeah. Oh,
compared to the snow, you know what I mean? And it's like,
compared to the snow.
Yeah,
and that's what's so nice.
Are very tough.
And
that's what's so nice about darker colored dogs.
Popular at one time.
Brindle, yeah. I remember growing up. That's what my buddy had, was a Brindle pit.
Yeah.
And looking back, it was a Brindle bully. It wasn't a pit; it was a bully. But back then, bullies were called pits.
Mm-hmm.
And man, his name was Snoop, and he was like a reverse Brindle color, man. And that's everybody, we called it Tiger Stripe back then.
Yeah.
And that's all I ever was like, man, I want one of them Tiger Stripe dogs.
Yeah.
And it was so cool, and now it's so frowned upon now because once you get it, you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's so damn dominant, and I had a Brindle Frenchie, my female, my one that won 5 titles, she was Brindle. And you were getting some Brindle puppies when you bred her. It's just, you ain't getting rid of the shit. And that's why people, when they're breeding Frenchies, a lot of them don't want powder Brindle.
Right.
It's so dominant.
Right, which is crazy. Because that's my boy, my dual grand champ. He's Brindle.
Yeah.
And those are the best ones, man. Those are the best ones.
I feel like they carry so much of the dominant genes that structurally sound. For some reason, like I have yet to see a Brindle train wreck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
A Brindle lacking,
but as far as like conformation, and we're talking structure,
right?
I don't think I've noticed a dog that's Brindle, and I was like, ooh, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, I realized how special my Brindle girl was. We went to, I didn't know at the time, I guess Florida's like freaking Frenchie capital. But I went to a show after I champed her out in Allentown, and then I went to a show in I don't know, Kissimmee, Florida.
Yeah.
And I walk in the ring, and there's like freaking 20 plus 20 plus Frenchies in the champion class.
Jeez.
And I was like, holy shit. And I ended up winning 3 out of 4 with her. And she was just a tank of a dog. And she looked like a stud. And then she would always lose to Hero in the overall.
Yeah,
you know, that dog was on point. You know what I mean?
If you're gonna lose to a dog,
that's the one.
That dog was on freaking point. I think I beat him like 1 time.
Yep.
But that was her kryptonite. Hero was her kryptonite. And but they were off the same. I think they were off the same mom or dad. I can't remember. They were half siblings.
Oh
wow. But she was a beast. And she was. I knew she was special when I went up there and did that. And man, that was like one of the best. I mean, I would have had 10 of her and been okay. But like I said, I couldn't get passionate about the breed.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you're starting to get a little dark there. Let's start throwing some information out there for people to find you. Where do they find you at?
Eric Soto on Facebook, and then Soto_Bully Camp on Instagram.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm more active on Facebook, but I got a lot of followers on Instagram, so I post pretty regularly there too.
I'm guilty of that myself. I'm just like, I post to Instagram, go there to post, check the messages, and then I go back to Facebook.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You got a website?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I need to get with you on that. I think I need to make one because I get asked all the time.
Yeah, it's handy. It can, especially a lot of questions people have. Like you go to your website, you got your pedigrees. I've got my testing shit. Everything's on there. Stud fees, they can lock in online, all that crap, right? So there's lots of times like people will send you a message and you can just drop them a link which answers like 99% of their questions.
Right.
Then you can be like, well, let me know, but here's the link to this and that.
And I had a buddy, he made one. He's like, man, I made it, and I'll send a link to people, and then they would just end up asking me all the same questions on my Facebook. Yeah. And he's like,
people don't like to read. People don't like to work, bro.
No.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, you might as well just like write this template of all answers and copy and paste it every time.
Yeah. Well, you notice, you ever notice, Han, every time we get in a group chat with a new person, like the introductory message I send, it's the same every time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You can set it up in your phone. So you set up keyboard shortcuts. So like that one where I sent you guys, I just type in /show and then it blurts out all that text. So I've got one
technology, bro.
Yeah, I've got one for like studs. If I type /studs, it'll say here's a link to the website, blah 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 blah, break down a bunch of shit. So I'll send you a message sometime how to set it up. But it sends you a ton of time because you're retyping the same shit over and over again.
Yeah, for me, the kind of shortcut I did is on my phone. You know how you make albums on your phone?
Yep.
I would just make an album for each dog. So like, I would go, my Chaco album. I'd have like a good picture of Chaco, like a front stack, a side stack, a video, his pedigree, and boom, I just go to and send you that.
Yeah.
And everything is just wrapped up in one, and just that way you're not scrolling through 1,000 dog pictures on your camera roll.
Believe it or not, that's as organized as I seem. That's the one thing I'm not. To this day, if somebody's like, "Hey, send me some 7 offspring," I'm like, "Hold on."
Going through 7,000 pictures.
And so on my my Chaco album, like all his offsprings are there.
Right.
Or all the saved ones. Yeah. So like can I see some offsprings, and I'll go to my Chaco album, I'll click on like 10 offsprings, boom, there they are.
And the other thing you don't even realize is you being able to pop them off that quick, right? Because I feel like if you send them a photo and then 3 minutes later you send them another photo, I always wonder if the person on the other end is like, well, he's having a hard time finding his offspring for some reason.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, definitely have them in an album would be a good idea. Well, I tell you what, Eric, we've loved having you on.
Yeah, bro.
I hope people got
that's been great
insight from you.
Yeah, it's good talking to you guys. We had some good conversations.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, well, I definitely have to do it again sometime. It's one of those situations, sometimes you just talk with people and you, at the end of the conversation, you're like, man, we really didn't get into it. We could have got way deeper into it. So,
Well, I think it's appealing for a lot of the audience to hear like the origin story and, the passion behind what you do. It relates. I feel it relates to, 99.9% of our audience.
And a lot of people, they're probably like already thinking this way, but they just need to hear somebody say it too.
Right.
That's
Like,
right.
man, I think that way too, and you know, I'm glad like somebody else is on the same page, or maybe vice versa. It's like, man, I've been looking at studs too heavily.
Right.
You know, maybe I need to focus on the bitch. You know, so
Right.
and then you might have some people who's like, no, man, I'm still gonna stay my way. That's just it works for me, and you know, maybe it does.
Yep.
So
And you know what the
this is
funny
good to
thing
hear.
is, a lot of the guests we bring on think just like you. We think the same way.
Yeah,
They're constantly preaching this same thing to people over and over again. And then they're probably thinking, oh, he only brings on guests that agree with him. I'm like, I really don't. I just talk to people that are doing something, you know,
Right.
want to get insight on how they're doing it. And they always seem to be in that same line. And the bitches.
Well, you look at the people that keep popping up and staying relevant. Like, well, they're staying relevant for a reason. You know, one, they found something that worked. Two, they probably screwed up a lot and figured it out. You know, like you know, when I first started breeding, man, I would breed the worst females to the best studs, and I just wasn't getting what I wanted.
You weren't getting.
And I wasted a lot of money and a lot of years to be like, all right, well, this is what I got to do, and you know, start over and over, and constantly start over.
For sure.
Yeah. And you know, and if we could save somebody some time, energy, frustration, you know, we're gonna do that. But
and money.
You got to be willing to take the course of action.
You got to be able to take the criticism. You know, people are like, "Man, what would you breed this bitch to?" And I'm like, "Well, if you want my honest opinion, I wouldn't, because she's gonna set you back. Like that's pet homer and stuff. You know, the longer if you're trying to build a program, the longer you keep her, you know, the more time and money you're gonna put into her. And if you do breed her, you're gonna take 2 steps back instead of a step forward. You know, so people don't like to hear that.
Yeah,
right.
You've already wasted 2 years. Don't waste another 2.
Yeah.
You know, go buy a better bitch.
That keeping the puppies thing too, because people don't put 2 and 2 together. You know, it's like if you see a breeder and he's saying, "Hey, I'm keeping these puppies till they're 4 or 5, maybe 6 months old before I'm making my final picks," and then you see them, they put up a puppy at 8 weeks because you know why would you, if you're a person that keeps a puppy for 5 or 6 months, why do you put a puppy up at 8 weeks? Because you already know it ain't the one, right?
Yeah.
But then everyone wants the dog. They want your best fucking dog. They want it 8 weeks, and they want the dog to be the bull, and they want, you know what I mean?
Well, you know, that's like people are like, you know, I'll post a picture of a bitch, like, what's first pick off of her going to cost? I'm like, first pick off of her is not available.
It's not available.
Like,
first available pick.
Yeah, like that. I mean, I'm not. What kind of breeder are you if you're selling your first picks? Like, you're not a breeder. You're still you're a puppy miller. If you're selling first picks, you know, the only time you should sell a first pick is if it just didn't turn out.
Yeah,
my first pick is not fucking available, and if it is available, it's going to be available for co-own.
Yeah,
And I co-own a lot of my shit. You know, if I co-own a dog, it's because I need something off of it.
Well, we definitely need to have. That's one show we definitely need to dedicate to is co-owning, the art of co-owning, because you know some people have got it down, and some people are not very good at it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not a very good at it kind of person because my level of trust is tighter than my 2 fingers.
Well, when people ask me, like, you know, I co-own a lot. I co-own a lot of dogs, and people are like, "What? You know, what if I want to co-own? Like, what's one of the things I need to know?" I said, "Well, be prepared to get fucked over at some point."
Yeah,
and that's just it, man. It's there's shitty people out there, and there's people that you don't know that they're shitty
until you're in that circumstance.
Yeah, so
until you give them a chance to be shitty.
It's kind of like a motorcycle. It's not, you know, if you wreck, it's when you wreck. You know, when you co-own, it's not like if you get fucked over, it's when you get fucked over.
When you, yeah.
And, you know, things.
But it's true.
Yeah, things just don't go down like they're supposed to. And but I know that, you know, going into my co-owns, I know that this could go south really quick, or it could be great. And I have co-owners that I've co-owned multiple dogs with and had successful litters, and everything just went great.
Yeah.
But I've got a couple stories where it's like, man, this dude begged me for one of my best bitches. I mean, just an amazing bitch. And so I co-owned her for a good amount of money because I was like, look, if she's leaving my house, you're going to make it worth my while.
Exactly.
She's only leaving on a co-own. So, you know, he paid me a good chunk. And he gets her within 6 months. He has her outside. She strokes out.
Mm.
She was a fucking bull. She's not built for the heat. And so he's like, I'm out, thousands of dollars. And I'm like, dude, I'm out, generations now.
Right.
I'm out a bad bitch. I'm out all these puppies and
probably out hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and a bitch that wasn't supposed to die died because you weren't being responsible.
Yeah.
And so really you're only out thousands of dollars. Like I'm the one who lost, and and that's one of them co-owns and that's why I won't co-own without money, because had I would have co-owned with no money, then I would have been out and got nothing.
Yeah.
And I've been in this situation. I've co-owned a bitch out, no money up front. We're going to split litters and bitch dies and I get nothing now. So I'll never do that again.
Yeah, for sure. That's crazy. All right, brother, we're going to let you get it. It's 9 o'clock and Han is hungry. I can guarantee you he's hungry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm an old man, so I'm probably going to go to bed.
Shit,
all right, brother. It's been good talking to you. And we may, if you're willing, we may reach out to you again, have you on again later.
Oh, sounds good, guys. It's great talking to you.
All right, brother.
Yeah, same. Likewise. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Have a good one.
All right, guys. We appreciate you tuning in this evening. If you would, give this a like and a share, as always. We have a lot of YouTube people lately. A lot of YouTube people. We appreciate that. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
I think Westy even jumped off Facebook
on YouTube. Yeah, I saw that.
Shout out Westy.
Shit, that was cool of you, brother.
Yeah.
But no, as always, we appreciate you guys. But if you would, just give this video a like and a share. Hit us up on YouTube, the Go Rogue Podcast on YouTube. Give us a sub, even if you don't use YouTube on a regular basis. It works better over there. Commenting wise, if I share links to products, you'll be able to see those links. Unfortunately, if you're watching on my personal Facebook, when I throw a link out, you won't see it. It's weird. But that's it, guys. We'll see you next time.
Yep. Appreciate you guys tuning in.
Later.